Good.
We asked Coach Allen about the defensive line too, but just in terms of maybe its impact, its flexibility, some of the individual one-on-one battles guys were winning, just as you grade that group, how pleased were you with what you saw from their effort Saturday?
Yeah, I was really pleased with the effort. There's plenty for us to coach and clean up, as is with most opening games. But from an effort standpoint, what Coach Randolph's been able to do with those guys and the new faces and learning our scheme and implementing it, really pleased with it from there.
So Andre Carter was obviously disruptive that game, and he said post-game, like, he's an experienced guy, like, he's seen things before. How does that help you, that experience, just as a play caller?
Yeah, it helps a lot. That's something that we talked about going into the games was, we have a lot of new faces, and some of those guys have played and some haven't played, right? So that's one of my big things in the box. I ask guys all the time, anybody have big eyes down there? What's the look in their face? And Andre definitely is a guy that, is battle-tested, and I think that showed.
Mike here on your left.
I wanted to ask you about two guys. First was Aaron Casey. Was he the best defender on the field on Saturday? And then in Philip Dunham, how much have you seen him progress in the last 6 months and your relationship with him kind of taking over that room?
Yeah.
Just kind of, what have you seen from him?
For sure, two guys who definitely stood out. Ace to me played fast. He's got great talent. He's shown that before, but he has a really good understanding of what we're trying to do schematically. And he's taken lead of his leadership role, and he flew around and made a ton of plays. I mean, you guys saw it. And then Philip Dunham, that play that he made, I could show you 50 times already on the practice field. So I tell guys all the time, if you do it in practice, you're going to earn the opportunity to go play meaningful snaps, and whatever you do at practice is going to show up in the game. But he's become more consistent. I mentioned that in the previous press conference, but he's become more consistent. He's matured. He's bought in. He's doing a good job.
Kind of alongside Aaron, Jacob had a strong game too. I know he had that PBU in the end zone that saved a touchdown. Just what do you see from him? How do you feel like he settled into his first game here?
He did a good job. Pleased with his progress throughout. Again, you have a new face who's learning a new system, so anytime that's the first live bullets, how guys are going to respond and react. And, we put a lot on his plate, and he's responded. And, yeah, you mentioned a really nice play he made in the back of the end zone. But, yeah, pleased with his progress, and I expect that every week.
They moved the ball some into the red zone and into your side of the field a lot, but a lot of times their defense stepped up, forced quite a few field goals. Were you pleased with how they played in that kind of short end of the field, and what do you think they did well there?
Yeah, that to me is purely mentality. And Ohio State's an explosive offense. You guys know that. And they made yards at times, but our guys were able to bow up there. You'd obviously would prefer them not to get there, right? And we had some opportunities on possession downs to stop them before that. But our mentality is, I don't care where the ball is. Give us an inch, we'll defend it, right? And it doesn't matter if it's on the one or if it's a backed up situation, right? So that's our mentality, is put the ball down, whatever the situation, let's bow up. But especially there, there's a lot of pride from Coach Allen from a system standpoint of red zone, score zone defense here. And I think our guys, answered that.
On Saturday, Tom mentioned how he felt fatigue kind of set in on the defense in the second half. How do you manage, getting those guys' endurance in the right place, especially if the offense isn't moving the ball much?
Yeah, I mean, you control controllables. For us, it's how you build depth. That's earned, from the practice field. If guys, earn the right to be playing in the game, then we're going to put them in the game. It's our job to get those guys ready from that standpoint. So you want as many guys as possible to be able to play, and that helps you in situations like that to, prevent fatigue from that standpoint. But, yeah, it's what are our rotations? We've had a lot of conversations about that defensively. How do we keep guys fresh? And then who are the guys that, we got to get to that point where we trust them in a game.
Mason and Jeff.
Obviously, you oversee a lot of the defense, but you also have a close relationship with the defensive backs, tall task with the OSU receivers. How would you grade how they handled the challenge of OSU and kind of specifically some of the new faces that you have in that room?
Yeah, for sure. The biggest thing to me, and I've said this before, from a defensive back is mentality. I mean, you could talk about skills or talent or that type of stuff. Mentality to me is the biggest thing, and I thought our guys did have mentality in that game. It was far from perfect. There's plenty to clean up. I think they did have an understanding of the game plan and what Ohio State was trying to do from that standpoint, but I was pleased from a mentality standpoint.
David right here, and then Zach, second.
I guess overall, it felt like your pass rush was relatively improved
as opposed to last year. Obviously, Andre Carter was phenomenal for you up front. When you kind of look around that room in general, though, you've got a lot of experience up front. Kind of how would you assess maybe Phillip and the overall kind of, I guess, showing that your line in front seven in general?
For sure. I
Saturday?
think it starts with effort up front, and I think those guys have worked really hard in camp. And then schematically, we have some, guys that have some skills, and how do we try to put them best in position to be able to make plays. So that's, obviously part player-led and part coach-led, and trying to put that together. But I am pleased with the effort from that standpoint, and we have to continue to grow, our patterns and our rush packages to, best exploit what offense is doing.
Talking about, I guess, all three levels, just how pleased are you, maybe not just some of the performance, but depth, and the fact that in the secondary and the line in particular, it seemed like you could rotate through a couple lines of guys and still be getting sort of similar impact, similar play performance?
Yeah, it's been part of our challenge to the guys, right? You earn the right to play by how you practice. And our guys have practiced hard. So anyone that you saw in the game, that meant we trust them as a staff. The players trust each other from that standpoint. So the only way that depth is real on game day on Saturdays is, or Friday night this week, is it's earned in practice, and so that's the biggest thing to me. So I'm always pleased from a depth standpoint as long as we have guys that we're able to roll, because if not, that means that those guys haven't earned it from that standpoint. So anytime that you see a guy that's in the game, that means that we trust them and expect them to be able to go do their job.
Your first game calling the defense here, just, how long did it kind of take you to start to really get a feel and feel like you were, nailing the calls there? And just how do you kind of handle the adjustments as the game went on?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's the first time, that I've been part of this defensive staff from that standpoint. So we do a lot of mock games, and we do a lot of long night conversations to make sure everybody's on the same page. But I thought from an adjustment standpoint and communication, it was clean. And that's a testament to the defensive coaches who are down on the field with those guys. I thought, from that standpoint, it was good. And that's our job, just to have guys ready to play, to adjust, to have the guys believe and be able to go play hard and fast.
When you watched back the film, did anything stand out to you that you didn't notice on Saturday? Kind of curious, what surprises or something you didn't see? I'm just kind of curious, when you kind of had some distance from the game, what you thought.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think much was missed. I thought we were on it from, what was happening schematically and adjusting and things like that. But it's about details and execution. There's critical moments in that game that our details and execution weren't what they needed to be to win the game. So that's a big thing for us, is every little thing. You never know the play that's going to win or lose the game, right? So that's been on our guys is, close isn't good enough, right? And how do we, hold them to, 7 points instead of 10 points? How do we finish? What are the critical errors? Where were the penalties that showed up, right? That's, a lot of the conversations that we've had from that standpoint. So just highlighting those things and showing the guys, and again, take the emotion out, be objective. This is the reality of the situation. How do we get better? So I was pleased with the effort from that standpoint, but the details can be better. Thanks, guys.